Good morning, students. Today we are going to study about the capacitors. This is the last chapter of electrostatics. Okay, we have seen all the things regarding the properties of the charges, electric field, potentials. These all concepts will be used in this chapter, and from the board examination point of view, this is one of the most important chapter in electrostatics. Let's see capacitance. We know that for any body, potential is directly proportional to the charge. So we can write Q proportional to V, or Q is equal to a constant C into V, where C is a constant called as the capacity of the conductor. Or we can write C is equal to Q upon V. Okay. So from here it seems that the capacity of a conductor depends on the charge and the potential. But as we increase the charge of the body, in the same ratio the potential increases. Therefore, capacity of any body is independent of its charge or potential and depends only on the shape and size of the conducting body. Let's see about the units and the dimensional formula for the capacity. We know that Q is equal to A into T and V is equal to nothing but W upon Q. That can be written as M L T minus 2 upon A T. So we can write here Q is equal to A T upon M L T minus 2 into A square T square, or this can be written as M inverse L inverse T minus 2 cos of T to the power 4 into A square. Okay, this is the dimensional formula for the capacity. C is equal to, about the units, Q upon V, where Q is charge and V is the potential. So if 1 coulomb of charge is given to a conductor at the potential of 1 volt, it is defined to be of 1 farad. Farad is a large unit of capacity. Okay. In CGS unit, this is the SI unit of the capacity, farad, and CGS unit of capacity is equal to 1 coulomb can be written into 3 into 10 to the power 9 electrostatic unit of charge upon 1 by 300 stat volt ESU of volts. Or clear? Or this can be written as 9 into 10 to the power 11 farad. ESU of farad. Okay. So this is the CGS unit and this is the SI unit. We can define from here the capacity. If V is equal to 1 volt, then C is equal to Q, or capacity is numerically equal to the charge, at the potential of a conductor if the potential difference is of 1 volt. So this is all about the introduction of the capacity. Okay. Of spherical conductor, we can see of different bodies the capacity of spherical conductor. If we want to see the capacity of spherical conductor, if this is sphere of radius r, then C is equal to Q upon V. Charge on the conductor is of Q coulombs and potential is V. We know that. V is equal to nothing but 1 upon 4 pi epsilon 0 r. This is equation 2. From 1 and 2, we get C is equal to Q upon Q by R, Q upon 4 pi epsilon 0 r, or C is equal to nothing but 4 pi epsilon 0 r. So capacity is directly proportional to the radius of the spherical body. Okay, for earth you can put here the radius of earth. For earth, if you wish, you can put C earth is equal to 4 pi epsilon 0 r earth, and that is equal to nothing but 9 into 10 to the power 1 upon 9 into 10 to the power 9 into 6400 kilometers is the radius. Converted into meters, you will get here approximately 711 microfarads on calculation. Okay, so this is the capacity of the earth. If a body, a spherical body is earth, okay, then if the spherical body is earth, that is for the earth, because potential of a body becomes zero on earthing the body. So if we put here C is equal to Q upon V and V becomes zero, that is the case of the earth, then C tends to infinity. Thus capacity of the earth is infinite theoretically. Okay. So this is all about the introduction of the capacity. We are clear here. Capacity, basically capacity or the charge that a body can hold. Basically we have talked about the capacity of the conductor. Please don't have misconception with the capacitor. We are going to see now about the capacitors. This is all about the capacity. Capacitor also is an instrument that will hold the charge, but the principle of the capacitor is different. Now consider here. For capacitor, let's see. If this is a plate, metallic plate, and a charge Q1, it is having the charge Q1, so that it attains its breakdown potential, means further charge cannot be given to this plate. Now bring in nearby this particular plate another metallic plate. Due to these positive charges, negative charges will get induced, and here we will have the positive charges. As the negative charges, it has breakdown potential V. Due to this negative charges, the potential of this plate will decrease, and due to this it will increase. So as these charges are nearer to these positive charges, the potential slightly decreases and becomes V1, which is smaller than V. So some more charges can be given to it, so that now the charges on this plate are Q2, which is greater than Q1. Okay. Further, if we do the earthing, these charges will move to the earth, and only these negative charges will remain here. Okay. Now, if these charges are only remaining on the plate, now the potential which was V due to the increasing of charge will again decrease to V2, which is also smaller than V. So further charges can be given to these plates, so that the charges on these plates are Q, and here it is negative Q. Clear? Thus by decreasing the potential with the help of another metallic potential bringing nearby the first plate, we are increasing the capacity to hold the charge of any conductor, and this particular system is called as the capacitor. So you can define capacitor. It is the system of two metallic plates. System of two metallic plates having equal and opposite charges. If the two plates do not have equal and opposite charges, then the system will not be called as the capacitor, although it will have the capacity to hold the charge. Okay, so this is your capacitor. Capacitors can be categorized depending on the shape and size. If there are two spheres This can also form a capacitor having equal and opposite charges. Okay, so this type of capacitor can be called as the spherical capacitor, and another type of capacitor is your cylindrical capacitor, but we are only concerned with our parallel plate capacitor that is in the syllabus. Let's see the capacity of the parallel plate capacitor, how much charge a parallel plate capacitor can hold. Here we are having a parallel plate capacitor. Don't think it is a line, it is type of plate. Okay, so this plate having the distance between the two plates is d, charge plus q minus q, area of the plates is equal to a. We know that c is equal to q upon v. That is the potential difference between the two plates. Okay, now potential difference V is equal to nothing but E into D, and by Gauss theorem we know that electric field between the plates is equal to nothing but sigma upon epsilon 0 into D, where sigma is the surface charge density. So V can be written as Q upon epsilon 0 A into D. This is equation 2. Without using the calculus, you can directly derive the expression for capacity of the parallel plate capacitor. C is equal to epsilon 0 A upon D. You can also use dV by dx for E. If you want, you can use C is equal to nothing but C upon V is equal to Q, or C is equal to Q is equal to CV, or V you can use dV by dx, and then also you can get the expression for the capacity. But without using the calculus, it becomes easier. So this is the capacity of parallel plate capacitor when the medium between the plates is vacuum. If we introduce a dielectric, we will see about the dielectrics also in this chapter. Having dielectric constant K, then capacity becomes K into epsilon 0 A upon D. That is, capacity can be increased by introducing the dielectric between the plates of the capacitor. Let's see the energy stored in the capacitor. Capacitor is basically a device which stores the electrical energy. Okay, so energy is stored in a capacitor. Energy is stored in capacitor. It stores the electrical energy. We can connect it to a battery or a cell having potential difference V. On connecting this, initially the energy stored is in form of potential energy. Okay, that is the work done in charging the capacitor. Suppose initially the charge on the plates of the capacitor due to this battery is equal to dq. Now the capacity is equal to nothing but, when the charge here is q only, is equal to nothing but q into v, or clear. So C is equal to nothing but, or if the charge is only equal to dq into v, then v can be written as q upon C into dq, that is the dw, the small amount of work done in charging the capacitor, and total work done is equal to 0 to q upon C dq, that is w is equal to nothing but 1 upon C into q square by 2. Okay, this is the work done, and this work is stored as the potential energy of the capacitor, that is equal to half of Q square upon C, or can be written as half of CV square, or can be also written as half of Q square into V. Okay. Any doubt? You can ask the doubt from the Google Classroom if there is any doubt regarding this. Now, basically, in case of capacitor, the energy is not localized on the plates, or that is just due to the distribution of the charges on the plates. It is distributed all over the volume. Okay, and this volume we know. So we have to get the expression for energy density of the parallel plate capacitor. Energy density. Energy density. Energy density is nothing but total energy upon the volume, and this can be written as total energy is equal to nothing but CV square upon volume is equal to A into D. Now C can be again eliminated, and this can be written as C is equal to epsilon 0 A upon D into A D square, and V square can be written as E square upon D square. Okay, so anything wrong here, please take care of this. Let's again derive it. Energy density C is equal to epsilon 0 A upon D, and this is your AD. Potential is equal to nothing but E square upon potential is equal to your V is equal to ED. So E square D square. Okay, this can be eliminated from here, and this can be. So it is equal to half was here, capacity energy stored was half. So this is equal to 1 by 2 epsilon 0 E square, or energy density of the capacitor is this much. You can also find out the force between the plates of the capacitor. Just